What's up, storytellers? Welcome back to another episode of One Clear Story. My name is Alex Street, and I'm here to help make storytelling simple for you and your business. And today, let's talk about this big idea, owning your story. I hear so much. I'm literally looking at an Instagram post that somebody wrote today, and it's talking about sharing their story. And that for so long, their story has been something that they know is powerful, but it held so much shame in their life that they are showing up now and sharing this story fearlessly, and they will share bits and pieces of this as it comes out so that, they don't overwhelm their audience. And this is amazing, like empowering, beautiful. I love it. I love to see this because it means that something is shifting, something's changing. You are overcoming something. You are becoming more confident, more secure in this. I love it. And also, this is part of the problem of why we're not sharing clear stories, because we're attached to the details. We're attached to the moments, and we're terrified that when we share those moments out in the world, we're terrified that they will not be received well. Yes? You are so scared that if you talk about your childhood that somebody might make fun of it, because the internet is a wide open and public place. And people are mostly free to say whatever they want to say about you as you show up with the person that you are. If you talk about your broken marriage, then people might have opinions about that and then might feel led for some reason to share those opinions in your comment section. And you're terrified of that. What if you say something about your family in your story and then your family sees this and says, that's not how it was? Owning your story, though, is something completely different. Specifically, owning your one clear story frees you up from any of that, because what we're talking about is a beginning and an end, a transformation from there to here. That's the one clear story. And then you are actually free to share any details that you do or do not want to share. What I mean when I say owning your story is recognizing that you, I laugh when I say that, you actually are the owner of this. You get to decide what you share. Is that crazy? You get to filter through and say what you want to say about your lived experience. My friends, you mostly don't know me and mostly don't know the life that I've lived, unless you are my wife listening to this, once you've been a part of a lot of my life, but still, you don't know a lot of my experiences. There's still things that I will tell my wife even about my lived experience. She's like, I didn't know that you did that. The crazy thing about sharing your story is you get to tell us what you want to tell us. That's ownership. That's taking ownership of the story and saying, oh, actually, sharing my story doesn't mean sharing all of my story, every given detail, especially if we're talking about like a marketing campaign or, in your email messaging and how you are attracting clients to you. No, we don't need all of it. I think you need to do all that work. I think your story is first for you, and there is an effort of discovering that, digging that up. Absolutely. But the perspective shift here is recognizing that when you own your story, you get to choose what you say and what you share. And that is the freedom that one clear story gives us. Because the other side of this, not owning your story, is doing the work and recognizing, whether it's therapy or it's some sort of discovery work or it's a story arc coaching that helps sort of pull all of this story out and look at the whole thing and see it in a new way and maybe talk about things in ways that you've never talked about them before and see how moments link to other moments in your life, that this isn't all an accident, but it has all been building up through one red thread in your life. And you do that work, then you get to this point where you go, okay, now what do I do with that? And I think the worst version of storytelling right now is this idea that says, okay, well, I've discovered all of these moments now. I guess it's time to share them. I guess I need to write post after post after post or email after email or stand in front of my team and tell them the trauma that I've experienced and how I got to where I am. We don't have to. I say it's the worst version of storytelling, not because that's what you're doing, because again, I'm proud of you for doing that work, but because you think that that is the only story that you have to tell, that is the story that you have to tell about your brand and your business. It's helpful. It's good. It can help you. It's first for you. But when you show up, what's most important is that you have this one clear story that is separate from the details of the story. It's Harry Potter being this boy who went from being alone to loved. That's enough. Now, if I wanted to, I could go into any one of those books and I could unpack the story and the characters and what happened to get them there. But ultimately, this was a journey of this child being rejected, neglected, and not knowing if they were ever going to find a family or have purpose in this world, to then discovering it and being told, you're a wizard, Harry, at 11, and that opening up this whole world to him where he found people and purpose and friendship and love. And isn't that just all of our stories, where we at some point feel like we don't know what's going on, don't know where we belong, don't know where we fit in and what our purpose is in this world. Yes, hello, welcome to high school. And then somebody opens the door, somebody says, hey, what about this? Have you tried this? And it opens up a whole new world to us where we find people and we find purpose and we find passion and we find impact and we make a difference in this world and we find love. Why is it the most successful book franchise ever? Because it's such a relatable, one clear story apart from the details. You with it now? You get that? Are you hearing this? So when you own your story, what I'm saying is that you, first get to realize that, oh, I get to decide what I say. So if your story is currently attached to shame, if you've been carrying this and you're like, yeah, but I don't know what I can share, don't share that part. Don't talk about that. You don't have to. But you can tell us that you have experienced this feeling of abandonment. And now you feel like you have found your place of connection. That alone is a powerful story to tell. And then you get to decide what you show up with to share. This is the perspective shift. When you own your story, you get to decide what to share. You choose what to say. I think the fear that's showing up and the hesitancy and the stickiness and the frustration and the overwhelm and everything that you are feeling, that we are feeling as brands and business owners around this idea of storytelling being this big, complicated, confusing thing, is that we are going through our brand story or our human story, our personal brand story, and going, there's so many things to choose. How do I talk about them all? Or what of these things do I talk about? And it's all very easy, which you might get sick of me saying if we listen to this podcast for a long time. And that is that it all comes down to one clear story. When you figure out that transformation, you start to own your story fully and completely. And you get to choose what you say. And people will connect with that more than anything. You can let go of the shame. You can let go of that trauma. You can let go. I say like, just let go of the trauma. Come on. What's the hard thing? I mean, around the idea of sharing this story that you've been experiencing. I mean, you can say that you felt all that stuff, but when you're simply showing up and saying like, "Hey, this is my story," let's start with something simple. Start with that big transformation from there to here. All right, now tell me more. And because you own it, you get to tell me whatever you want. It doesn't have to be all of it, just some of it. I hope this has helped you clarify what storytelling is a little bit more today, so that you can show up more confidently and truly make your impact in this world, because lasting impact always starts with one clear story. If this has stood out to you in some way, helped make a shift in your life, shift your perspective around storytelling slightly, I'd love to hear about it. So find me on Instagram at Street Says, find me on LinkedIn at Alex Street, or go to my website and you can download your free 30-second story guide, which will help you work through this process to find your own story there, alexstreet.ca/30s, 30s. And you can download that baby for yourself to work through as you want to. Thanks for being here. Bye.